This time we'll call the meeting of June 16th, 2014 to order. Mr. Love, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Friend. Councilmember Scatini.
Here.
Mayor Velasquez.
Here.
Councilmember Valdivia.
Here.
Councilmember Gomez.
Here.
City Manager Avra.
Present.
City Attorney Sullivan.
Present.
Chief of Police Westrick.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the City Council meeting of June 16th was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on June 12th at 8:28 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you. We'll move forward with item A, consent or resolution. Are there any items the council would like to pull from the consent?
A4,
A4,
A7, and A8.
A4, A7, and A8. Any other items? Any other items from the public? City Clerk, is there any other items from public?
Sorry, no.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Move forward to A4.
I just have a question on A4, and I wish somebody would fix my mic next time I
I'll
come
do
to
that
city
tomorrow
council
morning.
meeting, please. I can stay on.
Just leave it off.
Anyway, my question is this. If we're gonna block all the streets for this motorcycle rally, and then that's bad enough, but then you're gonna block off all the parking lots. So where are these people that's coming into town gonna park? Somebody answer that for me? Could you answer for me, Chief, if you have an answer?
Yeah, so
All the city parking lots is blocked according to the agenda tonight,
yeah, they're part of the event.
right?
So, yeah, the overflow parking for the event for motorcycles will be on Sally Street. Of course, the motorcycles will also be downtown as well.
Okay, but what about the people driving in on cars?
I think they'll park in the same place they parked at all of the rallies, kind of outside of the event area.
Well, I don't think we blocked off the parking lots in the previous alleys.
Yes, we have, yeah,
We did?
every year.
Okay,
Some of them will charge to park there.
okay. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval on A4?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Move forward to item A7.
Yeah, I would just like an explanation on to the rate stabilization operation and CPI operation replacement fund, what we're doing there.
What we do is we set money aside in the sewer fund to help keep our sewer rates down. If we have money set aside, it helps on our bond covenant, so we don't have to bring in as much revenue. It has not been a requirement. We've met our bond covenant just with the revenue, but as that margin gets a little bit smaller, it's just money that's set aside for replacement of capital needs in the sewer fund and/or meet our rate covenant for our bonds.
Okay, so the rates will be stable. We're just gonna take that
Correct.
gray area and put it in a fund.
Correct. Yeah, it's one of the main reasons why we have not had to raise rates for the last roughly 3 years.
Okay, any other questions, council? Okay, is there a motion?
I'll motion to
Second.
approve A7.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, motion carries. 5-0 vote.
A8,
A8,
just like to have an explanation on adopting the investment policy of the city. Well, what are we trying to?
It's just always best every year to adopt our investment policy, just kind of like the rate stabilization policy, that we're going to be investing in really just following the California Municipal Code investment which is nothing greater than 5 years.
And we haven't changed any of the
No.
policies that we discussed during the
Correct.
meeting. All right, that's all I have.
Okay, any other questions from council? Is there a motion for approval?
So for
No. E10?
We're going to do A8. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm
Motion.
sorry, Mr. Mayor, who made the second?
Councilmember Valdivia?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move forward. Did you say item A10?
E10.
Item A10?
You're right. My question on item A10 is this. You're asking us to cancel the July 7th, 2014 council meeting. My question is, when is the next council meeting after July the 7th? Can we, we're not going to wait a whole
21st.
month? The 21st of July?
The third Monday.
Okay, that's, I have no problem with that. It didn't state that on the thing, but that's fine.
Unicode says the council meets the first and third Mondays, so
Okay.
we just,
Just
Took it
moved
for
it
granted.
over one. Thanks.
and keep in mind, if there's ever the need, the mayor or the majority of the council can call a special meeting.
Right. Okay, thank you.
So what are we having a meeting on the 30th?
13th,
So it'll be from the 16th to the 21st.
21st.
So the next meeting will be July 21st. Okay? Any other questions?
Make a motion we approve.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
All right?
Aye. Motion carries 5-0 vote. Move forward with item B1.
Move to approve B1.
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0 vote. Move forward to item C1. This is public input. This is time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Are there any speakers?
I have a couple. Ophelia Toledo Prieto, I'm sorry.
Good evening, City of Hollister Council members. I'm Ofelia Toledo Prieto, and I'm a health educator for the Public Health Department. And I know I've been here a couple months ago, and I presented back in April of the 7th in regards to having a City of Hollister amending the municipal code to regulate smoking in licensed family daycare facility. I did speak to the legal center, Change Lab Solutions, for advice to modify the current sample that we have in place. I did provide with you a sample. Councilmember Raymond Friend would like for public mentioned about, well, let me refer you back to page 7 on that packet that I gave you. Okay. One of the things that City Council would like for Public Health to do, the first line of section action, so in section 8.40.050, penalties and enforcement on page 7, according to the legal center, this is not the type of enforcement implementation that is appropriate in the actual ordinance itself. The City of Hollister is still the enforcing agency. Now, as a health educator, my role is to provide education assurance that they are aware of the ordinance. I believe there should be something that states public health will provide the first enforcement action, such as education. We would make calls to them, reminding them about the law, provide a copy of ordinance, and a follow-up with materials such as signage, such as these. Or these. And they remind them that we have a good relationship with 103 daycare providers in the City of Hollister. Now, if and when the action continues, then we would refer them to the law enforcement DA's office for further action. The legal center also states that this is more appropriately spelled out in a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between the city and the county. The MOU is not absolutely necessary, though it can be useful to outline each parties' responsibility and make sure that there's no confusion. If it is up to the city and the county to determine if we want an MOU. If we go this route, we could either have the MOU ready alongside the ordinance. I believe in San Jose or Santa Clara, Breathe, California, each party has an understanding of an MOU. So also I want to share with you on page 5, section 8.40.010, letter H. There was a change made from 25 feet to 20 feet in any direction from an area in which smoking is prohibited. One of the things that also Change Lab Solution made some comments, if you notice in blue outline, some of the wording has been changed there. So hopefully you make time to view this sample of ordinance, and hopefully we can proceed with maybe an MOU. We don't have authority to enforce this ordinance. However, the point is to change the social norm through education, much like we did with with no smoking in restaurants. If we can call, we will respond with education. If we get a call, we will respond with education and information about the ordinance. And hopefully this will make a change within our community. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Sherry Stevenson?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Sherry Stevenson in Hollister, California, and I'm the Veteran Service Representative for San Benito County. Since the American Legion and VFW began managing and caring for the Veteran Service Building, there has been dramatic improvements to the building, which include a clean landscape and fresh paint on the inside that is warm and inviting. This makes the building welcoming and professional, and that is just the beginning. The most important improvements have also been the partnerships and relationships between the service organizations and offices to the betterment of the veterans and their families. On the service level, our office was able to expand in staff, and thanks to the American Legion and VFW, our office is better prepared to respond to the growing needs of our community. Our caseload has nearly doubled from last year. Expansion of services include a brand new housing assistance program for vets and their families, which since mid-March, we kept 10 families off the streets. A convenient new service for veterans is seeking employment. Will be a veteran employment counselor will be coming to the building twice a month. Also expanded in service are the mental health counseling for post-traumatic stress. In partnership with the American Legion, VFW, VA, city and county assistance, we consistently strive to protect and serve our veterans and family population in appreciation for their sacrifices. The goal of a welcome home facility is getting closer to realization, and our reward for doing so is our freedom. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Joe Love?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Give you a little status on the building. The building is very close to having the upstairs completely painted. We're doing the finishing touches on it. The only thing we have left to do on the upstairs would be the bathrooms. As Sherry said, it's set a warm, soothing type atmosphere when the soldiers come back in. We chose some colors that was used back in the early 20s, kind of a subtle brown and stuff like that. And we take a lot of pride in that because it's really changed the whole atmosphere. Walking around the local community, talking to different people in like the banks and stuff like that, they're really happy to see the landscaping out front being more trim and a lot better. And the landscaper that we used has donated, he's a veteran himself, has donated different items into it, like he put a flag of flowers in the front bed on the right-hand side of the building. And he's done a lot of extra stuff that was not part of his contract. He's gotten our sprinkler system up working a lot better, and it's just an ongoing thing to make it a lot better. He has a lot of good ideas he's going to bring up. One of the items that I want to talk about, we talked about it before, was parking around the building. Again, I asked to have a change to 3-hour parking next to the Veterans Building. That has never been done. I talked to the city engineer about that, and it just went to the wayside. Nothing has ever been done with it. We have 2 handicap parking spots out by the front of the building, and when I go there in the morning, there'll be those 2 handicap parking spots filled and all the other spaces emptied, and I just don't get it. Why can't they park in the next parking spot? You know, it's not like that they're going to get ticketed or anything like that. You know, they should think about the older folks that's our World War II veterans. We got one that's 91 years old that comes there and he can't find a parking place. He has to park around a corner, or he has to have somebody bring him there. And it's just it gets annoying to me that there'll be spaces available and they would use the handicap parking. To me, that's kind of like a stupid move, because number one is that if they park at the next stall over, are they going to walk any farther or walk any closer? No, they're not. They should really be thinking about common courtesy for the folks that can't walk. And I don't know what to do. You know, I'd like somebody to come up with an idea. I thought about the 3-hour parking, because who's parking there is people who owns businesses on San Benito Street, and it's free parking that they don't have to pay for or have time for, you know, that they're on a time limit. Where there's also on Sally Street, or East Street, that's all open parking where there's no time limit parking. I'd like to see the 3-hour parking set up there so that we could push the folks that's walking from San Benito Street to a little bit farther. You know, exercise is good for you. And I just hope that the city will take a task on that and talk to some folks and try and have it squared away and hopefully put 3-hour parking up there.
Thank you.
Marty Richmond?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Marty Richmond from Hollister. I just want to take this opportunity to wish all my friends in Hollister and San Benito County a happy 4th of July, since you won't be meeting again until after 4th of July. And have a safe 4th of July. As many of you know, I'm retired from the service, and as such, I'm an expert in explosives, and I was in that industry for 25 or 30 years, whatever it was, after I retired. And every year, there are some terrible accidents because people want to see the big bang, and they go out and they buy illegal fireworks. And I've seen people maimed with explosions, and I've seen people really, really hurt, including killed. If the professionals have problems with it, believe me, the amateurs are going to have problems with it. I know it's a lot of fun, I know there's a lot of noise, and it's whoop-de-doo until something goes wrong. And then you're going to wind up in the emergency room, and it's not going to be just a burn, but those devices, especially those illegal fireworks that are often stored illegally in homes next to where your neighbors are very dangerous. So I don't mean to be a party pooper. If you want to see the big fireworks, go out and see the show that the city puts on every year. It's a wonderful show, and enjoy it. But please, please, please stay away from the illegal fireworks and keep your family safe, because the kids are the ones who often get hurt. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, I just have to make a correction. It's the 4th of July Celebration Committee that puts the fireworks on, and they are paid for by the fees that come through the city from the 12 nonprofit legal fireworks stands.
Please
Okay.
accept my apology.
Certainly.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers?
No.
We'll move forward. Item D, no business. Item E1, resolution number 2014-125 for public hearing.
Mayor, on number E1 and F1, before you take any action tonight, if you are inclined to take any action, there's two ways you could do it. And that is you can either do a motion to reconsider, because you did rule in a manner last meeting. So in that case, one of the three people who voted against it would need to make the motion, or you can repeal your action so that it's from the last meeting, so that you can hear it and move forward. And that's on E1 and F1.
Okay.
You may want to just, if you suggest either one of the three, the council people to the right either move to reconsider.
I'll make a
and you can do
motion
it
to reconsider item E1, resolution number 2014-125. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0
Thank you.
vote.
Okay, good evening. This item that is up for reconsideration is a resolution that will approve a reimbursement agreement between the city and BMC Promise Way LLC, the subdivider for the Rakovich subdivision. This will be for an oversizing of sewer main line, which will benefit the Rakovich subdivision and a number of projects along San Benito Street. The subdivider is here today, and they have asked to be able to give a presentation on this, so I'd like to, if it's okay, have them come up and give the short presentation.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Jim Fletcher, and my office is based in San Jose. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of UCP, and BMC Promise Way LLC is a subsidiary company of ours. And we thought we would just make a brief little presentation to you about what this reimbursement agreement is about. I was unfortunately out of town on the 3rd of June when you heard this last. There was a little confusion. And so we thought maybe putting a visual to it would be helpful. The first slide you have here is actually the in-tract sewer improvements that we're going to be making, assuming we move forward with the Rakovich development. We are handing out a little handout too, so you can see this, but everything in green is part of what we will be building with our subdivision, and none of this is part of the reimbursement agreement. Our company will be building all of this so the property can be properly sewered. The next slide, can you do it for me? So that's just to kind of give you a sense of what we're going to be doing. The off-site portion of the sewer needed to support our community is this second slide. You see it in green, and it runs pretty much on a northerly direction up San Benito Road and connects up there. This is the solution that was preferred by staff. It appears to be probably the best long-term solution, because it not only allows for our project to be sewered, but it also opens up the potential for other parcels to connect in the future and develop, have sewer available to them. There's a third little section here that I wanted to show this is not part of the reimbursement agreement, but we've been working with Dr. Alex Iwak, who's an adjoining property owner and a neighbor of ours. It was suggested at the last meeting that perhaps we would meet and see if we could work out something, and I'm pleased to say that we have. And this portion of sewer, we plan on building as well once it's engineered and approved by the city. I believe staff is aware that this will be coming forward, and this also is not part of the reimbursement agreement that we're constructing. but it will provide for ultimate and future sewer connections for Dr. Siwak's property. The next slide here begins to kind of pull it all together, if you will. The green, again, is our in-tract that we'll be obligated to do. You're going to be looking at that a little bit later on under item F1, everything internal in our subdivision. The blue line is the off-site sewer main that we'll be building, and the little orange piece is Dr. Siwak's. A couple important reasons why we think this is beneficial for the community. Maybe the next slide, please. These are all of the properties that will stand to benefit from this sewer line extension being built. So it not only serves our property, but it opens the door to a number of other parcels which currently don't have a very good or very viable sewer solution in place for them. When the sewer main gets built, at some point when they decide to develop, if they decide to develop, they can connect to it. It's important to know that none of these property owners are obligated to connect to it. None of them have to pay anything until they do connect to it. It just provides a long-term option for them. And the reason that it's stopped where the boundary that you see in blue is that is the boundary of the sphere of influence. So in the future, if the city were to expand the sphere of influence to the south or whatever, it's possible for this sewer line to be furthered. But what's in front of you right now benefits these properties. So we've had the engineer put together for us a cost estimate. That's the next slide. This is the total cost, including the hard cost, the direct cost of building the sewer line, the soft costs of engineering, plan check fees, construction staking, the city's inspection, et cetera. All of the cost of building this are estimated at this point to be a total of $654,000. The reimbursement that will actually be coming to us will be based on verification of what we actually spend. I'm hoping that we can do better than this. We certainly will try. The next slide shows how these costs would be allocated between all of the properties that would benefit from this sewer extension. At the top of the columns there is our project under Benchmark. Benchmark Communities is our subsidiary home building company. And we will be absorbing 28% of the cost of this ourselves. And then all of these other property owners, these are the current of record owners, if, again, they decide to connect and take advantage of the sewer, this would be their pro rata share of what they would have to pay for that based upon this estimate. And then lastly, I think we've got one more, just kind of summarize why we think this is an appropriate thing for the city to do. This was the site that was identified as the preferred route by the city staff as it provided community benefit above and beyond our property. If you choose not to approve this sewer reimbursement agreement, we won't build it, obviously. We have another way that we can sewer our project. It just only benefits our project. And so this seemed to be the better solution. And so we took staff's prompting and followed it. We will bear 100% of the burden of installing these improvements. So assuming the $655,000 is a good estimate, we will front those dollars. And then we'll have to prove them up through invoices, paid receipts, checks, however we do that with the city to prove that that was the actual money that was spent. Let's see. Although the agreement does call for us to be reimbursed in one of two ways, a cash reimbursement from the city within a period of time after the costs have been determined, or through fee credits, I can tell you at this point it is our intention to not ask the city for a cash reimbursement since we're going to be moving forward with the tract and building the 81 homes. We intend to use whatever reimbursement we have coming and take it in the form of fee credits. So we think that makes sense. And then lastly, and I'm hitting this one hard, but again, all of the properties within the boundary that will benefit, they only pay if and when they decide to hook into it. So it's a completely voluntary thing. We think it's a benefit. We're out there, we're putting a lot of sewer improvements in the ground for our community in tract. It's pretty efficient for us to just keep going with our same contractor and get all this in. So we would respectfully request that the city consider this. And again, in our working out our resolution with Dr. Siwak, I think he is very pleased with the solution, and I'll let him speak to it if he wants to.
I have a question.
Councilmember Friend.
What is your timeline on how long will San Benito Street and Cienega Street Road be torn up, so to speak?
Well, we'll kind of build it in segments. We have our land development project manager here. Mike, roughly, what do you think it will take us to build that from the south to the north? A little over a month in sequence.
And hopefully not during school year?
Yeah, we think we can be underway just as soon as it's engineered and approved by the city, and hopefully that can get fast-tracked a little bit, but we could get going in July at the latest.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, that's okay.
Okay, so at the last council meeting, there was a question of whether an escalator was included. At that point, the reimbursement agreement did not have an escalator. It does now, and it's based on the engineer's news record construction cost index. So as the index increases, the cost will increase, and the city will be gaining, actually be bringing in the, that current dollars construction amount. We should be staying pretty steady with what the economy is on construction. Also, there was also a question on a public hearing being noticed. A notice of public hearing was mailed to all the affected property owners on June 4th, 2014. So we corrected the errors that the city made, and we're bringing it back to you for reconsideration. So if you have any questions for me.
Got a question.
Councilmember Scatini.
You want to say something first, Bill?
Yeah, what I was going to just mention is the question that you had earlier for me today about quote-unquote an interest rate. There is not an interest rate associated with it, but there is, as David just mentioned, an inflation that's based on the engineering news record, which is, for lack of a better term, it's sort of comparable, but it's really comparing apples and apples of what it would cost to build in the future. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense to me right now.
Sorry.
You got me confused big time right now.
Okay.
Has the cost to do, if I understand it correctly?
Okay, as the construction cost for a project of this rises because of inflation or just demand for products, the engineer's news record index will increase. That in itself will be associated with a factor that the cost of reimbursement will be increased as well. So that if this project were to be built, let's say 10 years from now, based on today's dollars, the construction cost will be comparable, and that is what will be reimbursed as the project continues and people start connecting to the project.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council?
I have questions, but I'll wait until after. I don't know if we have any speaker cards.
Well, we have to ask questions before we open to the public.
I'll ask my questions after the public hearing.
Okay. This time we'll open it for public hearing.
Alex Ziwak.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I emailed you a little summary to each of you. I don't have anything further to add. Since in the 2 weeks between tonight and the last meeting, I've had a better understanding of what's involved and what are the numbers and the real expenses involved in getting to this point. Certainly, it's going to help our project. I think it's the best solution for that area. And so I'd myself and my wife are in a position to support the reimbursement agreement as is presently on the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Marty Richmond?
Marty Richmond from Hollister. I'd like to thank the engineering department for putting on the cost adjustment for future. This will encourage people to not sit on this for 100 years like they do sometimes with their other permission slips and see if the thing goes up. This will encourage them, if they have a serious intent, to use the extra capacity that's going to be built in and that we're going to pay for either in dollars or in credits. This will encourage them to use it. And I think that's a professional way to do it, is to charge them. And I would point out to these people who want to do future developments, you're still getting a bargain. And the reason you're getting a bargain is we're not going to charge you the interest rate we could have made on that money had we invested it. So you're getting a bargain, take it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. No other speakers? At this time, we're going to close public hearing. Councilmember Gomez, you had
Yeah, I just have a couple
Question.
questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. David, on the properties, that PowerPoint that was given to us, it doesn't have a page number, but the property fair share summary with the detail of the APN numbers and owner properties. So just north of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and all the way down to where the sewer will be installed, just north of, I guess, the First Presbyterian Church. There are properties on there that are currently, obviously, we have homes there. And I'm assuming they're all on septic right now?
That's correct.
So what do we do, or what can we do to encourage them to tap into, why would they, you know what I mean? Like, what can we do to encourage it if it's a benefit to them? I mean, do they have a way of kind of figuring their cost analysis for septic work and expenses and blah, blah, blah? I mean, any way we could encourage them to kind of decide to do that, or would they wait until that property was demolished and then they turned it into new homes or
Okay,
whatever?
properties that are on this line, that would be going on this line, and that, in fact, all properties within the city of Hollister service area, that are on septic systems, when that septic system fails, they need to have it replaced, or they need to, do something to mitigate the problem, because it becomes a health and safety hazard. So as those projects, as those properties try and get those fixed, they will be required, when a sewer is available to them, to actually connect into the sewer system, and that is by municipal code, I believe. Yeah.
And it's also an arrangement that we've made with the MOU between the water district and the health department, is that the idea is to, as long as there's a sewer line available within 300 feet, the idea is that the health department will not permit them to replace or rehabilitate their septic system.
Yeah, okay, I remember something like that. I know that we worked on a couple of properties.
So that's the hammer part.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. Okay, great. I'm not saying that they, obviously that we should, force them to do this, obviously, but, as we know.
We don't go out, we usually, we don't
great.
go out there and force people to connect, but when it becomes available and it's necessary, they do.
Okay, wonderful. All right, that's good to hear. That's the only question I had. Thank you, David. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Councilmember Scatini?
Following Victor's comments, is there any incentive for a person to hook up to the sewer from a septic tank system? Is there any breaks at all, or if you wanted to?
I can actually handle this. About a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, Mary Paxton was either brought an item to the city council or was going to bring an item to the city council about offering an incentive type program. I don't believe that the council actually adopted it, and it was really for those county islands, more like the El Toro neighborhoods and El Cerro, where there's several. We don't have, I think we started to build a line that's close, or there is a line that's, but I think that it's something that she's probably going to look at in the future and try to bring something back, because our sewer impact fee, the connection fee, all of that it ends up being pretty expensive, and it probably, for the greater good of the community and our groundwater basin, it's best that they actually connect, but we don't necessarily, I think, want to give somebody a $25,000 bill either, and don't quote me on the bill, but I mean, it will become expensive. So we're going to try to figure out a program for that.
You probably get more people willing to connect to the sewer line if there was some kind of incentive.
Yeah. And that's what we really are trying to do.
The properties along this line are mostly undeveloped or underdeveloped. So those properties that want to develop and gain full use of the property, that's when they will be required to connect and pay the reimbursement to the city. So, so it's up to them, and it's their choice when they develop the property.
Any other questions? So as I look at this, the drawings, the future projects south of the proposed project now has a stub out for that project, correct? The green line there, stubbing into, I believe, a future project there.
Into the Natmar project?
Further, it's south of the proposed project right now.
Okay, yeah, the project south of the Rakovich project is a Lad Ranch project, which is currently in the annexation process. When they go to develop, basically one half of their project will be able to utilize this line. The other half, the easterly half, will go into a totally separate line. That will be easier for them to connect to.
So they'll continue the connection to the San Benito line?
Yes.
The blue line?
Yes.
And that's probably when the other property owners would probably want to connect, so they don't have that cost of extending that line?
Well, the property just south of the Rakovich project will be sewering through the Rakovich project into the down Promise and into the San Benito line. As the City of Hollister sphere of influence increases, if those actions are approved, then the properties currently out of the sphere of influence, at some point in time, they will have to come up with a means to sewer into the San Benito line as well. Those properties aren't figured into the reimbursement because it's outside the sphere of influence, and we don't know if ever that they will actually become city jurisdiction, and we felt we weren't able to include those properties into the reimbursement.
Okay. Councilmember Scutini.
In the sphere of influence, how that tied in with the general plan, city's general plan? How this whole project tied into that?
The Rakovich project is within the city limits.
Right.
A lot of the properties that are in the sphere of influence that are actually outside the city limits right now that will be benefited by the sewer line. As their proposals continue, they will be required to go through the annexation process. During the annexation process, they will be, again, notified of the reimbursement and conditioned to participate in the reimbursement and reimburse the city. So as the city limits expand into what's already the existing sphere of influence, they will be tying into it. Now, the sphere of influence gives the City of Hollister the ability to require construction improvements to be built to city standards. That's why you'll find certain projects that are outside the city limits but within the sphere of influence that they will have infrastructure designed to city standards, and it makes it much easier. So when they do annex to the city, we will have standard improvements to maintain. when that occurs.
Okay. Are there any other questions from council? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 2014-125.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 5-0 vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Move forward to item E2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Good evening. The City Council directed staff to work with the City of Hollister Planning Commission to prepare a recommendation on mobile food vending standards to be presented to the City Council for review and adoption as an ordinance to the City of Hollister Municipal Code. In addition to the mobile food vending standards, staff has prepared additional amendments to Title 17 zoning to assure internal consistency and minor clarifications in the code to standards for residential fence heights, off-street parking and light industrial land uses, residential densities, and in the homeless shelters and transitional housing section of the zoning ordinance. Planning Commission approved resolution number 2014-19 last month in May, recommending adoption of the ordinance with the proposed amendments. The ordinance is attached to your packet as Exhibit A if you would like to follow along. Staff will do a brief overview of these amendments, and if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. We would like to begin with the standards for mobile food vending. These standards would provide the opportunity for mobile food vendors to establish in the City of Hollister, whereas currently the municipal code only allows a vendor to stay at one place for the length of the transaction, no more than 10 minutes at a time. So there are 5 sections in the mobile food ordinance that we have, amendment that we have in front of you, A through E. A will talk about definitions, B, regarding permit requirements, C, application submittal requirements, D, ground for denial, and E, permit revocation. Again, staff will present a summary of these. Please let us know if you have any questions. We're going to start with Section A of the attached ordinance. The first section of the mobile food vending standards consists of the definitions, which include mobile food catering cart. This basically defines carts or non-motorized units. Also, mobile food catering vehicle, which defines motorized units such as catering trucks. Then we also have mobile food unit, mobile food vending facility, and mobile food vendor, which basically defines the person who is selling the consumable items.
The second section of the mobile food vending standards consists of the permit requirements. Mobile food uses shall be permitted in the North Gateway zoning district, the light industrial zoning district, industrial business park, airport, and airport support with an administrative permit in compliance with the following standards, such as the area proposed for use shall be developed to city development standards. No person may conduct business as a mobile food vendor within 20 feet of any driveway. The mobile food vending facility shall be kept in a good state of repair and in sanitary condition. The hours of operation of a mobile food vending facility shall be limited to the hours of operation of the fixed base business on the fixed base host site, if applicable. When not in use, the mobile food vendor shall provide proper storage of the mobile food vending facility. Section C addresses the application submittal. I'll just summarize them as follows. The mobile food vendor shall complete and submit a project application in sufficient quantity to the City Department review to include a site plan and the location or areas where the proposed vending activity will be located upon the site, proof of current valid city business license, a copy of the current San Mateo County Environmental Health Permit. There must be access to hand washing and restroom facilities, and any other information that the director may require to show full compliance with this chapter and any other applicable laws to the city.
The following may constitute grounds for denial of a permit to operate as a mobile food vendor. 1, the mobile food vending operation or activity as proposed by the applicant does not comply with the applicable laws, and or failure to obtain clearance from the San Benito County Environmental Health Department as indicated before. And also, the director shall reserve the right to revoke any permit authorized by this section if the director determines that the mobile food unit is in violation of any of the provisions of this section. However, the mobile food vendor shall have the right to appeal the director's decision in accordance with the provisions of the Hollister Municipal Code. In summary, this is the mobile food vending standards. We can go on to the next few items that we have as amendments. Does the council have any questions right now, or should we wait till the end when we present the rest of the amendments? Okay.
Wait till the end, or any questions? Please proceed.
Very well. So Section 2 that we have before you addresses residential fencing standards. Currently, the front yard residential fencing standard states 3 feet or 4 feet with administrative approval from the city planner. Essentially, the fence height in the front yards of single-family residential homes. The amendment for the residential front yard fencing before you may permit the property owner to increase the height of the fence in the front yard shared by the adjoining neighbor. The amendment states that no portion of the fence shall exceed the height established by a line drawn beginning at a point 3 feet or 4 feet with administrative approval immediately next to the front property line and ending at a point that is 6 feet above grade at the setback line. This would permit for existing and proposed fences that are stepped fence where they begin like at 3 feet and then they go behind for about 6 feet in length, and then they step for like 1.5 feet, and then they go back another 6 feet or so, and then they step another 1.5 feet to about 18-foot length section of the front yard. So right now it basically says 3 feet all along the front. So with this, it would allow for a stepped fence to be permitted, whereas a lot of the city, currently, we see that in a lot of the city homes, and for future reference as well, if somebody wants to do a step fencing, they can do that with this amendment.
The next amendment will address parking. Currently, the parking standards for manufacturing and industrial land uses require 2 spaces for each 500 square feet of gross floor area, plus 1 space for each vehicle operated in connection with each on-site use. There are existing industrial uses that require large machinery and equipment which cover large portions of floor area but not necessarily require a large number of employees. With the current ordinance, development of these industrial uses tend to require excessive parking. The ordinance includes an amendment to the parking requirements for manufacturing and industrial land uses in relation to the number of employees and or floor area of the building, whichever is greater. Therefore, instead of requiring 1 parking space for every 250 square feet of gross floor area, the amendment would require then 2 spaces for each 3 employees or 1 space for each 400 square feet of gross floor area, whichever is greater, plus 1 space for each vehicle operated in connection with each on-site use. The next amendment would address density. The ordinance added standards that were inadvertently omitted for existing residential lots and residential dwelling units that were lawfully established prior to the 2008 zoning ordinance revision. This created existing lawfully established multifamily developments to no longer meet the minimum lot size. As a result, these existing lawfully established units are considered non-conforming. So the amendment to section 1704030 would address this issue.
The next amendment addresses transitional housing. The amendment in the ordinance will allow the requirement of a conditional use permit for homeless shelters or transitional housing in the public facilities and industrial zoning districts. Currently, these uses are permitted by right in the North Gateway zoning district and permitted with a conditional use permit in the residential, mixed use, and commercial zoning district. So this amendment would allow homeless shelters or transitional housing as defined per the Hollister Municipal Code in the public facilities and M1 industrial zoning districts in the city of Hollister with a conditional use permit. With this, staff recommends that the City Council hold a public hearing, read by title only, waive full reading, and introduce ordinance number 1100, an ordinance to the City of Hollister to amend Title 17 zoning code of the Hollister Municipal Code, and schedule a second reading and adoption of the ordinance for the next City Council meeting. Are there any questions for staff?
Any questions from council? Councilmember Friend?
On the last portion on the homeless shelter or transitional housing?
Section 5.
On the conditional use permits, is there a timeline? Is there an end date? I mean, those can be set up for a season, or a year, or 10 years, what are we looking at?
If desired by the conditional use permit, yes, but there is no specific, in the actual ordinance, it doesn't specify an actual time frame. However, it can be recommended and adopted if that's the case within the conditional use permit. However, it doesn't have it.
Definition, transitional housing is just a pass-through type housing.
Correct.
We're not looking at a permanent.
Correct.
Or are you looking at a permanent facility that would limit the time a group of people could live there? Is that what the ordinance is gonna say?
The ordinance exists already for the transitional housing, and you're right, Councilmember Friend. We will have to look and see what the definition actually states regarding transitional housing, but that's already a part of the ordinance. All we're trying to do for tonight is to actually allow for the M1 and the PF to also, public facilities and industrial, to also allow for homeless shelters and transitional housing within these districts as well, whereas right now, the code is silent on both of these zoning districts.
And I understand the need and why we're doing this. I'm just wanting to make it clear that we need some sort of, if this is gonna be an established homeless shelter or transitional housing shelter, that there's a time limit there. Either the shelter closes or there's a time limit on how long somebody can pass through that, I guess.
Yes.
I mean, I understand the need, I'm just saying there should be some timeframes there on that, how we can regulate that.
I think probably what the best course of action is usually with a conditional use permit, you know, it rides with the property in perpetuity unless the planning commission states otherwise. And I think what we may want to do is we may want to look at those individual cases as they come across the planning commissions for their approval or whatnot, because I don't think the council wants to get into a situation where we have actually put conditions or set time limits on a conditional use permit. I can think of one off the top of my head that didn't go real well for us. So, I mean, once the use is established, I think what you really want to try to do is maintain that use. There's other ways of, if a use ceases to exist, the legal nonconforming or any of those other things that would ultimately happen, whether it's 6 months or 1 year, that the conditional use permit then is essentially not valid any longer. So, but I think that from the planning department's perspective, I think when we actually get one across our desk and go through the application process and the approval process, that's probably the more appropriate time to talk about the length of time in which that conditional use permit is valid.
And all the conditional use permits are going to be done through the administrative process, or they're going to be going to the planning commission?
It would be through a planning commission, Councilmember Friend. Yes.
Okay, any other questions from council? Questions? Okay, at this time, we're going to open it for public hearing. Any speakers?
No.
At this time, we'll close it for public hearing. Is there a motion from council to read?
Really quick, Mr. Mayor, sorry. So on the parking for industrial land uses, so the recommendation from staff is, just to be clear, the recommendation from staff is the greater, correct?
That's correct.
It's going to be the
Councilmember
100?
Gomez, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I make a move that we approve waive final reading and introduction of ordinance 1100 and all four of the provisions or amendments.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0 vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move forward to item F1. I'd like to make a motion to reconsider. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Okay, good evening again. This item for reconsideration is the approval of the subdivision improvement agreement and final map for the Rakovich subdivision. A little bit additional information that's not in the staff report is that this subdivision was approved at the Planning Commission. The tentative map conditions were approved at the Planning Commission on December 19th, 2013. At that time, there was testimony received. The city council, or not city council, sorry, the Planning Commission approved the tentative map conditions with no changes at time, and nobody had any appeals to the city council, and therefore there was no changes to the tentative map conditions. So this is the approval of the Rakovich subdivision. Again, the subdivider, BMC Promise Way LLC, will be developing 81 residential subdivision lots. And as you heard earlier this evening and saw a map of the project, they're going to do quite a bit of improvements. The map was processed through the engineering department. It was found to be in substantial conformance with the tentative map. The improvement plans have been checked and are ready to be approved. The subdivision improvement agreement that's part of this item memorializes all the tentative map conditions and provides for financial security to ensure that all the improvements are complete. So with that, this is not a public hearing, but if I'll be here to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from council? No questions from council? Are there any speaker cards?
Alex Iwak.
Mayor and council members, we 2 weeks ago supported this subdivision improvement and simply asked that it be conditioned on a resolution of our potential sewer line that we'd have to place in Cienega. That's happened. The 2 weeks that went by gave everybody an opportunity to resolve that item. The solution is that when BMC puts in their half of Cienega, at that time a line will be put in with sewer laterals to service our parcel. When it comes time to develop our piece, hopefully within the next 12 to 18 months, that easterly half that BMC is required to improve will not have to be disturbed in any way. The advantages of that are, number one, that newly improved section of street won't have to be dug up again to accommodate our sewer line, as well as the 20 feet of improved roadway will be a help for the immediate neighborhood, so that when we develop our half of the street, there'll be as little as possible impact and inconvenience to the neighborhood. So we supported the subdivision improvement as it was 2 weeks ago with the condition that we asked. That condition's been satisfied, and we thank you and particularly the city staff, Bill Abra, Brad Sullivan, and Dave Rubzik to allow us to handle that condition in a change order system without any change in BMC's plans. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers? Okay, there are no other speakers. Any other questions from council? Is there a motion?
Move to approve resolution 2014-126.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Move forward to F2.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm bringing to you the, what we feel is the final budget. We made the adjustments that council had requested at our workshop. Was additional 53,000, which was the changing the position to deputy city clerk, and uniforms for the newly hired Safer firefighters, and some additional training for the council. I'm here just to answer any additional questions and hope that you approve our budget for 14-15.
Are there any questions from council?
I just have a question.
Councilmember Scatini?
I'm going to approve it tonight, but I do want to meet with you and Bill on the budget sometime next week, if I could.
Sure.
At least spend 6 hours with me on it. I have that many questions.
Okay.
But I'm willing to go ahead and approve the budget tonight.
Appreciate that.
Are there any other questions from council?
Yeah, I have a question. So out of our city council budget, we have $7,000, about $7,000 that are going to AMBAG. How do we pay that? Is that paid through population figures, or how does AMBAG charge us?
I can get back to you on that part.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just curious and not happy about it. So anyway, I don't have a problem approving the budget as is, but if it's at all possible, I'd like to register a no vote for sending any kind of money to AMBAG.
Councilmember Valdivia?
Yeah, I was asking the city manager about the community request that we get every year. I did, in my packet, not my packet, but in my mail, I got requests from 2 organizations. So where are we with that? Because it just bypassed me to ask it during the budget hearings, but it's not in the budget.
Yeah.
So what's the plan?
We did not budget anything for the nonprofits. I do understand that we had some CDBG grant funding that a lot of the nonprofits received, but we can come back with a plan to, or subsequent council meeting to discuss nonprofits and/or just do it at our mid-year. And that's usually a good time to see where we're at and how we feel if there's funds available to give to nonprofits at that time.
Also, I only got 2. How many applications did we get, or did we get any more than 2? I got copies. They were in my mail.
Yeah, no, and I think that those are the only
Was
2
it?
that you received. And last year we did,
They came through the website.
we budgeted, I think, 30,000. We ended up with
Correct.
doing 25, so.
Okay, city manager, you had a question?
No,
Your
I was
statement.
that was the topic I was gonna hit on.
Any other questions from council?
No,
Do we have speakers? Okay, at this time, we don't have any speakers. Is there a motion
So moved.
for item, resolution number
2014-127.
and 128?
128.
Okay. First, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Against?
Thank you very much.
Motion passes, 5-0 vote. Move forward with item F3.
Thank you, Mayor. The item in front of you this evening is a resolution for the council to consider setting aside or creating a set-aside for tourism in the amount of $50,000. The city of Hollister currently receives about $140,000 annually from TOT, or temporary/transient occupancy tax, from the local hotels and motels. At a recent retreat, and also sort of under the direction from council through Councilman Gomez, is to sort of establish a grassroots effort to increase the tourism in the community. In order to do that, it's necessary to have some seed money. The idea behind the seed money is to identify a local nonprofit organization, or the creation of a local nonprofit organization to develop an MOU with the city to begin doing a huge marketing campaign, or marketing and strategy campaign. The idea behind this hopefully is to not only increase the marketing for the city of Hollister, but sort of the region as well. And it's hoped that once this organization has been identified and they are up and running, that this would be an annual sort of contribution to them, or to some extent, as well as hopefully we can maybe get the county of San Benito involved in it as well, so that there's a shared, we get more bang for our dollar when we do a shared campaign or shared marketing strategy for the area. We know that San Benito County has lots of things to offer. The city benefits as well. So if you have any questions, this is sort of the first step in sort of earmarking those that revenue, or that tax revenue for this program. I should also mention that the TOT revenues really are general fund revenues. So this is coming right out of Fund 101. So.
Thank you very much.
I think-
Councilmember Friend?
I think you answered one of my questions.
Okay.
The $50,000 is going to be coming from the $140,000 estimate?
Essentially, our general fund is our general fund. We put $140,000 in there. We get a quarterly check from the local businesses, the local motels and hotels. That $50,000 would come out of that. So essentially, we can say that it is coming out of the 140, but it is actually general fund revenues.
Well, then the second part of my question might be to the council, is that we probably should look at, we already set aside some money outside the budget that we got from sale of property, that we were earmarked some of that money to be used for economic development.
Correct.
I think I would not have a problem taking that money from there instead of out of the general fund, out of the budget 140, and say we should use a part of that set-aside money that we've set aside for economic development as part of this seed money, as you speak, for this group. The other objection is I don't think we should be paying for this if the county does not want to participate. And I think the nonprofit group should be instructed that way, that if the county wants to kick in and help us, then we're gonna all benefit. If they don't want to kick in, and I don't believe they will, then I think the promotion should be for the city of Hollister, not the county.
Okay. Are there any other questions from council? Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first of all, I want to thank our city manager for working with me and getting this put together, and our city clerk for putting this on the agenda. So initially, our thoughts, it's been about 6 months that I've been working and thinking about this and how to kind of proceed with a possible tourism plan for the city of Hollister and the surrounding area. And, we've heard a lot of ideas out there. We've heard a lot of concerns, yet, very few folks have actually taken any kind of action on this issue. So my belief to hopefully, I don't know if I'll answer Councilmember Friend's questions with this, but somebody needs to take the lead on this effort. And if it's the city of Hollister taking the lead on the effort, then let it be. That's not going to be anything new. We pretty much determine what the county is going to do in most circumstances. I mean, we have 2/3 of the population, so what we do goes. So I think this is a good way of moving forward and saying, hey, look at Hollister residents, San Benito County residents. The city of Hollister is going to step up and say, hey, tourism is important to our county. Tourism is important to the city of Hollister. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to step up, and we're going to dedicate 3% of our TOT that we collect for tourism. As a business owner, as somebody that was in business here for 10 years and involved in business for 18 years, I could tell you, if you don't invest in marketing your business, you're going to get zero return on your investment. I was in the pizza business for 18 years, and I could tell you if I didn't advertise, I would probably cut about 80% of my revenue easily. So that's why I believe that this is important to the city of Hollister and San Benito County. I can't exclude the amenities that the county holds, that would be very hard for me to do. Yeah, stay in, we have, hotels aren't necessarily or bed and breakfast aren't necessarily, except for maybe Greg's, but aren't necessarily the reason why people come. People don't say, hey, I'm going to go to Hollister because, the Best Western is awesome. They don't say that. They stay there because they're coming for other reasons. And when I look at that, the other reasons are mostly in San Benito County. We have Hollister Hills, we have the wineries, we have golf courses, we have pinnacles, and a lot of folks are coming because of those reasons. So I can't hold back and say, hey, here's $50,000, do not spend it on anything that has to do with the county. Then the marketing plan's gonna fail. So I mean, my desire with this, and obviously I would appreciate the mayor and the council members' support on this issue, on this item, but the reason I'm proposing this is because I really think that we could be the leaders in the community, saying, hey, check it out, this is what we're gonna do. I hope the county does step up and do something about this. I hope they do match us and contribute, or even put in more. I hope other organizations come in and do this. So this is, I think, a really good first step. I do also want to share that I have been talking to quite a bit of folks in the tourism community, including the Chamber's Tourism Committee and folks outside of that committee, to form a new tourism committee for San Benito County, because I think that would be ideally the way to go. That way we have an independent nonprofit that specifically just focuses on tourism. So, with all that said, this is a good way to let the public know, hey, we are committed to tourism and marketing in San Benito, in Hollister, in San Benito County, and I will gladly work with the folks in the tourism sector to establish this MOU and to even help them coordinate in building this nonprofit as well. So. With all that said, obviously I would appreciate your support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Friend?
I just want to make it clear, Victor, I also support what you're doing here. I just wanted to get a dig in on the county of this. I just don't feel that they carry their weight, but that's my opinion. But I do agree with everything you've said, and I agree that it is time for us to step up. And I think the money would be better to come out of that set-aside money that we have than straight out of the Fund 100.
So I'd like to add.
If I can, before, and I apologize, I did not answer or reply to Councilmember Friend's question on that. So I mean, you are correct. Whether it comes out of of this economic development fund that's already in our general fund, or we say that it's coming out of TOT is sort of a formality, but the reason I want to say that it's coming from TOT is because, we could say because the TOT revenue is deposited straight into the general fund. It would be a lot, I don't want to say easier, not for Brett or anybody else, but, if we did have an independent TOT fund, obviously this would be cut and clear, of where it's coming from. So. And the reason I say that, and the reason I like to say that we should be at least letting the public know that it's coming from TOT funds, is because we would also want to say that the other jurisdictions should do likewise. The other jurisdictions, including San Juan Bautista and San Benito County, don't necessarily have the economic development funds that we have. We didn't have those funds years ago. So. If we say that it's coming out of this economic development, fund that we have that's in the general fund, then the county and the other city could come back and say, oh, well, we don't have that money that the city of Hollister has, so we can't do it. But guess what? They do have TOT funds. So, if we do let them know that, hey, the city of Hollister is using TOT funds, I guess you could say it's coming out of whatever fund you want, it's still the general fund. But hopefully that clarifies what the reason I was proposing it that way.
And I'd like to thank Councilmember Gomez. He basically is taking the lead on this. We've been discussing this at intergovernmental, Councilmember Scatini and I, with the county about increasing the TOT throughout the county so we could use those dollars to promote our community. And what Councilmember Gomez has done is he's taken that lead and said, we're committed as a city to doing this. Rather than waiting for all this to come to in the future, let's move forward, because he's right. If we don't start advertising, we're not going to see the results from it. So this is really a step forward. The idea of the plan is to match the other communities who have a 12% TOT tax rate. We have an 8%. So that revenue will be refilling this, and we could start with that promotion of our community. So I think it's a good move, and I'm glad Councilmember Gomez is pushing this forward. So I appreciate that. City Manager, you had a
No, what I just
statement?
had just a quick conversation with Brett, and what we can do is sort of accomplish both goals with Ray, using the one-time money as the seed money that we do have from economic development from the sale of the property. However, I agree absolutely with Councilman Gomez, is that the ongoing contribution has to come from what is the TOT portion of it.
Right.
And the better they do, the better we do, the better, I mean, everybody does as a community. That economic development, obviously, that's one-time money that is accounted for separately, you know, as part of your budget. So we can identify that section, but certainly after this initial portion and we get something up and running, we do need to have it come from our general operating, you know, revenues from the TOT. So.
Okay, thank you. Are there any speakers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and I received an email from Chris Martorana in San Juan, and he also supports this. First speaker is Greg Harvey.
My name is Greg Harvey. I own Joshua Inn Bed and Breakfast, my wife and I, and I'm also the chairman of the Tourism Committee for the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce. I want to let you guys know that, first of all, you're invited to any of my tourism meetings that you want to come to. We meet once a month. We have been meeting for several months. We have a very active group, a lot of great ideas. We have been in discussions for several weeks about if we had X to work with, what would we do with it? So we want to make sure that that's used wisely. I've lived here 17 years, and I haven't seen us really advertise our county, and I think we have a huge opportunity here. I don't think the TOT is the answer to everything, but it is a start, and that's exactly what we need. We need a start, and I want to thank Councilman Gomez for bringing it forward. I want to thank you for taking it up, and I really think that the city needs to, you know, thank the city for stepping up to take the lead on this. I hope the county and the rest in San Juan Bautista do follow suit. But regardless, with money set aside, given to the correct nonprofit, and there's already a movement right now within our group to make, you know, we've already got a lot in the works, and if you want to come over to my bed and breakfast and chat one-on-one, I'll tell you all about it. But we've already got things, we're already moving in that direction. And Victor and I have had several discussions as well. So anyway, I just wanted to ask you to please approve the resolution that's been put forth by by Councilman Gomez to set aside the current TOT funds already being collected for a tourism marketing campaign. I would encourage you to please give that to a nonprofit that is dedicated solely for the purposes of tourism or advertising. A couple of points that the John Avila from the Cal State Monterey Bay came over and did a tourism conference at the Chamber a few weeks ago. Tourism is one of the largest industries in the United States, if not the largest. It is a revenue generator, and sometimes we think of taking money and it's like an expense. This is a revenue generator. This is going to, a rising tide is going to float all boats, and the things that the city and the residents want, this is an opportunity just dripping for us to take advantage of. Monterey County, $2.3 million industry in Monterey County. And the Pinnacles, you know, we don't need to talk about, I mean, we're getting a lot of people from at the Pinnacles. It's a huge, they're doing a lot of advertising for us. So I would just ask you to please approve the resolution as is. And thank you for taking the lead, and hopefully we'll get the rest of the county on board. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lana Chacon Carter.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the City Council. My name is Lelania Chacon-Carter, and I'm in attendance tonight to talk to you about the passing the agenda item F3 to set aside funds for tourism and marketing tourism. I believe promoting tourism in Hollister and the surrounding county is extremely essential. We have numerous landmarks and events that take place in the county on a monthly basis. Pinnacles National Park has put San Benito County on the world map, and Hollister Hills SVRA is one of the prime destinations for four-wheel drive recreation and motocross events, with tourists coming through every weekend. Last week, with the permission of the Tourism Committee, a Facebook page was launched to showcase what San Benito County has to offer, called Discover San Benito County. The page is up to 124 likes and growing. The committee understands that this is the beginning of something spectacular, but also acknowledges that we still have a long road ahead to compete with Monterey Bay and Paso Robles. We can get there with your help in passing this resolution tonight on a much-needed niche in the tourism market. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Debbie Taylor?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. And I, first of all, just want to thank you for putting this resolution on the agenda tonight. I wanted to kind of go over a couple things. And first of all, Lane has already kind of touched on some of these items. You know, as you know, the city of Soledad grabbed on to an opportunity, and they're located in Monterey County. And I know that when the Pinnacles was designated back in January of 2013, it just really moved things forward. I got a lot of phone calls at our office. There was a lot going on. And I think what's going to be important is that we need to have something for this community to increase business activity, and that's where I'm coming in because of the Chamber of Commerce, and to really let you know that we need to generate revenue. I had gone in and done some research and gone into the U.S. Travel Association, and we are talking about travel and tourism, and it's being one of the largest industries. And this is based on 2013 data. It generated $2.1 trillion in economic impact, with $887.9 billion spent directly by domestic and international travelers that spurred an additional $1.2 trillion in other industries. The one thing I found interesting is they break it down a little further by saying that direct spending by resident and international travelers in the U.S. averaged $2.4 billion a day, 101.4 million an hour, 1.7 million a minute, and $28,154 a second. Tourism's going to be important, and I really applaud the city of Hollister, because if you do take the lead, I see good things happening, and a lot will turn for this area and for this, along with the county. I think that the superintendent of the Pinnacles National Park has been attending some of our tourism meetings, and some of the things that she pointed out to me is they've already conducted studies to see how many visitors have come through the area to the Pinnacles. So in 2013, she provided me booklets to state that 200,000 visitors have come into the Pinnacles Park, and that was a statistic that was given to me by the National Park. That means we could capture people coming to our community. I think that Hollister is a key part. I think you can really set this thing in motion. I just want you to know I really applaud Victor for some efforts that he's made to push this forward, and I think that we will be doing ourselves a huge favor. I look at this as a positive. As you know, the Chamber of Commerce is considered, we have Visitors Bureau behind the Chamber of Commerce. I'm seeing visitors from all over the world come into Hollister, and I didn't see that when I first started in 2012. So I hope that you'll really consider this resolution, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ray Pierce?
Hi, Ray Pierce. I'm Vice President of HDA, the Hollister Downtown Association. Although I'm a member of that, I'm actually speaking for myself and support of this. I think this is really good. We work very hard to bring tourism into the town with the wine and beer stroll, the lights on celebration, the street festival, the new bike and music rally, and we're always looking for other ways to bring in more of those tourism dollars and outside dollars from all over. We're getting a very good response from this, from people coming in from out of area. And just so you guys know, they say we're a lot friendlier than most of the other people they bump into in the other rallies, beer strolls, and the other stuff. So we must be doing something right. So I'd really applaud this. I think this is a good measure. I'd like to see everyone try to get on board, but everyone knows that, you know, the times are tough and it's hard to pull the money out everywhere. You do have a majority of the population here, but you also have a majority of the benefit within the city limits. So it would be nice to join up with San Juan and see if we can maybe rotate them into the whole mix and us help them and them help us. So very good, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
And Marty Richmond.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Marty Richmond again from Hollister. I'd like to jump on the bandwagon, especially give a nod to Council Member Gomez, who has been pushing this item and deserves the credit for the leadership of getting it moved. I think it's important to get out front. Well, I think it's vital. It's more than important. I believe that for reasons there's no time to go into here, at the current level at the Board of Supervisors, they're pulling themselves this way and that, can't decide what to do because of the differing interests of their voters. Well, we're going to have to just push them out of the way. I hate to put it that way, but that's the way it is. They haven't seen fit to open up the roadway for us, which they should have done years ago. I think it's about time we stop waiting for them. And I agree with Councilman Gomez. They're an integral part of our tourism, and we're not going to cut them out. We're going to give them that for free. We're going to advertise the whole county, and we'll get our fair share. It's very vital economically to bring in outside money. All the money is not equal. The money people have to pay here to buy gasoline, to drive to work, is money that takes out of their discretionary account. They don't have it to spend for something else. So it's important to bring in outside funding to help them along. And the way you do it is, it's a bargain. We give them a great place to visit. We're going to give them great things to see and great things to do. And in return, they're going to pay their fair share of the bill. That's the way it is when I go to Disneyland or when they come to San Benito County. It's all the same. Everybody benefits, whether they go to Monterey or they come here. And these people are already on the road. They're at Santa Cruz, they're in Monterey, they're away from home, and they're ready to see something new. So I think this is a great idea. I hope the money is well used, and it should go heavy on advertising outside of our little county, to the people who are already in Santa Cruz, to the people who are already in Monterey, who are driving down 101 and only see us from 7 or 8 miles away. We should say, come see us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
No
Other speakers? Any other questions from council?
Mr. Mayor, I do want to say a couple more things, and I appreciate everybody coming here and speaking on this item, and we appreciate the support. There's a couple of things that were said that are crucial here, and number one, I want to start with accountability. Wherever this money ends up going to this nonprofit, we will request, there will be an MOU, we will be requesting accountability for this money. So this money is not just going to be thrown at this organization and say, hey, you know, go ahead, have a good time. We want to see what's going to happen. So I do want to reassure the mayor and my fellow council members that I will stay on top of that and make sure that the accountability is there on this money. And I also want to thank the Chamber and the Tourism Committee, which is very active. And there are people that are not in the committee that are very active in tourism, and I hope they also come in line, including folks from the HGA and others. And then, so thank you to those organizations, and to Ray and the HDA as well. We do, you said something very important, and this reminded me of, of my business. You know, when I was in the pizza business, it wasn't just about advertising and bringing people into my business. That's only a part of it. It's retaining those customers. And if they have great experiences, like you said earlier, word of mouth will begin there. And we won't have to always depend on the advertising, though that I hope this continues on. So anyway, with that said, I would like to put in a motion to approve Resolution 2014-129.
You know, let me, if I can add something real quick.
Yes.
Councilor
Sorry.
Gomez, second. Wanted to, you know, it was brought up, Soledad had made the effort first. I think personally here, we've worked hard on this. Councilmember Gomez taking the lead, but being more thorough. Part of what we did with the budget this year is we worked with our rec department to stress as far as bringing in events, sporting events, that bring in out-of-town visitors. So they'll be working on that this year, which complements what Councilmember Gomez is doing. So it's a well-thought-out plan. We're going to see a lot of tourism coming through our community as these events start to happen, the marathons and whatever else we can bring to the community. You're going to see a big change here quickly. So again, I want to thank you, Councilmember Gomez, for taking the lead and making this all happen. So
Yeah, thank you.
we have a first and we have a second. All in favor?
All right.
All right, motion carries, 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Let's go to item F4.
These three resolutions are before you to start the election process for this year.
Great.
Any questions?
When is the filing period again?
Filing period opens July 14th.
And it lasts for
It closes August 8th.
August 8th.
Unless an incumbent does not file, then the filing period's extended 5 days for non-incumbent filers.
Okay. Are there any questions from council?
Now I make a motion that we approve 2014-130, and we'll do all three at one time, 2014-131, and 2014-132.
Is there a first,
My
or
motion.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second.
Councilmember Friend. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Move forward with item G1, report from city council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Gomez?
I did not have any committee meetings this period.
Councilmember Aldivia?
I pass.
Councilmember Scatini?
No meetings?
Councilmember Friend?
I just have one quick one, that we are having our final rally meeting on the 30th. And I believe from the last meeting, everything is pretty much set in stone and we're ready to go. But this last meeting on the 30th will be, if there's any loose ends that have been tied up, we've got them. I think we're ready now. That's all I have.
Good. I have quick updates from the intergovernmental meeting. We have been talking about continuing some partnerships, see if we can work together on our parks, some of the public works, roads. We actually have been talking about the TOT tax. Hopefully the county will continue to proceed with that, so we do have more income for more promotions. I also attended a AMBAG meeting, Councilmember Gomez's favorite committee out there. This was out in Marina, and there was
We're tied for the year.
there was some controversy because Highway 25, our main artery into town, was taken off of the list of improvements for future state improvements. Councilmember Gomez pointed that out early on. So I did attend that meeting to discuss that, and the other members of that committee agreed that it's too important of a highway to be taken off of the list. So what is going to happen is that it will be added in the next couple of years back onto that list. So it was good to see communities like Santa Cruz, Watsonville, all the way down to King City support us, and their basic answer to us was, look, we trust you guys, you know what you need out there, so we're going to back you up. So that was good to hear from AMBAG. So I think the tide is turning, Councilmember Gomez, at AMBAG. A lot more support there. So that was really good to hear, because Highway 25 cannot be taken off that list. If we do that, we'll never see the improvements. If we don't see the improvements, we'll never see the businesses we need here in our community bringing those jobs. It's very vital, and it's a subject that we're going to have to address in the future, because it means we do need to find additional funding for those improvements.
Question, why is it going to take 2 years to get it back on there?
The vote was to approve the plan as it is right now, and what it does, it allows us to come back and make that change, amend the plan. Within the next 2 years, we can do it.
Okay.
So their comment, again, was, we will support you and make sure that stays on the list.
Can we hold our payment until they do that?
Well, I think we hold our payment, we're not going to be in AMBAG, and then we're not going to get anything. So I think it's,
Not getting anything out of them anyway.
well, we're going to force it, so.
I think
We're making progress, let me say that, and if I see the day where they don't want to help us, then we would definitely not be involved on it,
I
so.
think Victor should change his mind, put a yes vote instead of a no vote now.
That's my
Might be
reports
worth it.
Not
from
likely.
committee. Let's move forward to item G2, informational reports. Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, I just want to wish everybody a very safe and happy 4th of July. As Marty said it nicely, you know, it's, I don't have the background he has in explosives, but I did grow up in a rough neighborhood, and I heard plenty of fireworks, but now I hear them everywhere. So to Mike, thank you for the information you provided to us, and we definitely hope that, as Marty said earlier, folks do attend the 4th of July fireworks event at Mays. It is a great opportunity just to enjoy a fireworks show. It's a great way to, you know, allow families to enjoy themselves, but also in a safe way. From experience with the city of San Jose, they don't allow the safe and sane fireworks, and to be completely honest with you, their problems are a lot worse than ours. I know there have been some folks in the community that don't like to even see those, and I understand you can still get hurt with those. That's why it's important to have an adult use those only, but and a smart adult, because there's some that probably shouldn't even be doing that either. But it's just important to make sure that we all stay safe out there on 4th of July. So just wanted to share that and wish everybody a happy and festive day.
Thank you. Councilmember Valdivia?
You know what, I just also want to just, you know, wish everybody to have a good 4th, and again, be careful and take care of your children, be with them, supervise them, because a couple of times I understand that even those little sparklers, some of the kids got burned, they're not safe, and you just have to supervise them. So hopefully that we will all take our part to have a good, happy and safe day on that day. Thank you.
Councilmember Scatini?
Me too. I'll wish everybody a happy 4th, and also that I want to congratulate Mike Chambliss for putting on a real good air show. Fortunately, Saturday was a perfect day. Sunday was terrible. And I hope we came out at least trying to break even, hoping, but I doubt it. But anyway, we'll get reports on that later on.
You just mean the weather was terrible.
The weather was terrible.
Don't say it was terrible.
Yeah, it was, and also our city manager, he strapped on a parachute, and I told him I had a pair of drawers in my car, I needed them. And he jumped out of the airplane, and he came down pretty fast.
I'm fat.
We could hear the screaming.
Yeah, the TV's here today.
But that's all I got.
Thank Thank you, Councilmember Friend.
Yeah, I do have something I want to bring before the council, and I'd like to bring it up to the next council meeting, and I'll pass this out. I have a rendering by Mr. Hugh Boy of a statue and memorial to a gentleman named Eric Chugnazi. Anybody that spent any time downtown has run across Eric, or rather, he has run across you, and he passed away not too long ago, and his family has had the memorial built, the statue and everything, and it's, I talked to the veterans group, and we're proposing that we put it on the plaza of the Veterans Memorial Building in one of the grassy areas on the, I think that's the 6th Street side. And I'll have David bring it before the council with a specific drawing on where it'll be and everything. And I think it's something that would really be nice to do for the downtown, and for the whole city to appreciate Eric. He was an icon downtown, one of the best people you'd ever want to run across. And I think this would be very important for the city to do. So I'd like to be requested to be put on the agenda for the next meeting in July.
Okay.
That's it.
You done? I'd like to recognize somebody. I attended a few graduations over the last few weeks, and one of them that really impressed me was a member of our community. They call her Abuelita Martha at the Hollister Dual Language Academy. This is a grandmother that goes to this school and helps the second graders. She goes every single day, all day, to help. She doesn't have any kids there, and she doesn't have any grandkids there. She just wants to help the community. So I want to make sure she gets recognized for all that hard work and the difference that she makes in all those kids' lives, because when she came up, they all went crazy. So that was good to see. And also, I'd like to congratulate all those kids that got straight A's this year. I wish we could do something for you, have a barbecue for you, or do something. You guys are great kids, and those are the kind of kids we really want to recognize in public for doing such a great job. So congratulations. On the other side, I want to emphasize that firing off illegal fireworks will lead you to a $1,000 fine. So don't do it. It's not worth it. You can have a lot of fun without doing those types of things. So really think twice about that before you do it, or pay us $1,000. City Manager.
I really don't have anything to report. I just wanted to thank Mike Chambliss again, too, for all his help with the air show. And I think the other thing that goes unnoticed a lot is the amount of volunteers that actually helps him. It's an amazing group of people who are out there usually both days, and even the folks that only go one day, I mean, it's still all day, and they do a really, really good job. So I want to thank him, and but more specifically all the people who are out there every day. Chief Westrick just texted me a little bit ago about Joe Love mentioned something about disabled parking placards around Betts Hall. Apparently, if you have a disabled parking placard, you can park in a handicap or a disabled parking space, and there is no time limit. So you can just pass that along to those folks, that we should not be any of those folks that have a blue placard should ever be getting a ticket for a time. So I just thought I'd say that.
I think you should clarify, it is 3-hour parking out there. Anyways.
I talked to Jove actually a few minutes ago, and it is 3-hour parking in the district. There's no signs right there in front of the building. So we need to rectify that as soon as possible.
Thank you. City Attorney.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Chief.
Yeah, I've got a couple things. You mentioned fireworks. So tomorrow, actually, we have a scheduled sort of a media blitz on our zero tolerance policy for fireworks this year. And it'll come out tomorrow. The fire chief is well aware of it. We're going to have some resources out there that will actively seek and find those persons that feel they need to use illegal fireworks, making our city sort of unsafe at that point. So we'll be going after those folks that decide to go after those. Of course, if you're in the market for Safe and Sane one, I think that when they open up?
June 28th at noon.
Yeah, 28th at noon. So those folks, please, patronize our local fireworks booths and be safe when you use those. The second thing is tomorrow night we'll have actually one of the first coffee with the cops we've had in a while. Tomorrow at Mars Hill, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And then we're going to follow that with a morning meeting the next day at Mars Hill, 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. So those folks that want to come out and talk about the rally, want to talk about fireworks, want to talk about National Night Out, come on out and we'll talk about it.
Great, thank you.
Six or 6:30?
So clarity again, what, 6?
Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. to 7:30. And the next morning, 8 to 9:30.
Be clear, that's all. City clerk.
Not so fast. Just a reminder that next Thursday, the 26th, is the annual horse show parade. The kiddie parade starts at 10 a.m. from the commuter parking lot on Memorial Drive right there by Vets Park. And the fireworks will be held that night. They usually start about 9:25, 9:30, depending on the pyrotechnics. And they do always tell me they enjoy the pre-show. The Street Festival is July 19th, and then Relay for Life is August 2nd and 3rd.
Thank you very much. Let's move forward with item G3.
This is for the council to designate the annual voting delegate and/or alternates. For those of you going to the League of California Cities Annual Conference, is in Los Angeles, September 3 through 5, and we did put money in the budget for someone to attend. I think during the budget session, most of you suggested that the mayor attend. So I need to have a motion to name the voting delegate.
I make a motion that we appoint Ignacio Vasquez, our mayor, esteemed mayor of Hollister, to attend the conference and come back with a report from the conference to all members of the council.
And we need 2 additional voting alternates,
If anyone else is going.
if anyone else is going. I'm hoping.
We want to go?
Excellent.
I'll include Ray in my motion.
Anyone else?
I'll second that motion, sorry.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
And I'm not very particular about the written report, so.
Okay. Items H, I, J, and K, no business.
Move for adjournment?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, 5-0 vote. Thank you very much, everyone.